Hi, and welcome to this edition of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric, Executive Director of WCTV, and I appreciate you taking some time to spend with us and learn a little bit about some of the things and people that are happening in and around the community. Thank you very much for watching this week's In Focus. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to have a conversation with the first guest. Most of the time I've had a chance to meet my guests well ahead. We met 10 minutes ago. Somebody new in the area, so very happy to have Adam Parton with us. Adam, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Adam is with Friends Fellowship Community. Not long there, less than about 6 months maybe?
Right. I started in October of last year, and I'm very excited to be there. It's a wonderful place.
Cool. Let's find out a little bit about you if we can, and then we'll lead into the organization that you're leading.
Sure. I've been in long-term care, senior living for most of my life. My father and mother both were nursing home administrators. My dad was a licensed nursing home administrator from the very beginning. It was the first class of licensed nursing home administrators in the state of Ohio.
Wow.
So I grew up around the industry and really fell in love with that kind of work. Serving others was something that I've always wanted to do. I was the little kid that blew up balloons and took residents to activities, and just really enjoyed that. So throughout my life, I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do as a career, but I always did it as a job. And I had this aha moment during college after I tried a few different majors and different things, and I had this aha moment when I realized that I really wanted to be at work that day and be there for my residents and my coworkers. So I went to Kent State University, graduated with a degree in gerontology, long-term care, and business administration, and I was a licensed nursing home administrator at the age of 23 years old.
Oh my.
And I have been doing that in different capacities for the last 28 years. So I was a licensed nursing home administrator for about 16, and then a regional vice president of operations for the last 12 years. And now I found a home. I live in Greenville, Ohio, with my wife, Shannon, and our 5 kids. And it's very close to home. I love the proximity, and Friends Fellowship had an opportunity for me, and I'm really glad to be there.
What was it about Friends Fellowship that made you decide that was the place you wanted to be right now?
It is a beautiful campus with a lot of great people. The culture there is incredible. There is a great team, wonderful residents. It's a campus where we can serve people from independent living and the social settings that we want to provide for independent living residents, all the way to the very end with hospice care and health care and memory care that we can provide people throughout the whole spectrum of senior living. So,
talk a little bit about what those of us that are getting older, and we all are every year, but creeping closer to that age range, what is it that we should be thinking about when we are considering an assisted living facility? And there are various stages of that, as you mentioned.
Right. Even independent living. Like we have seniors that come to us to buy a house. We have 70 homes. The homes are very independent residents that love to go on cruises and go to the casino and do all kinds of fun activities. But we can provide that security for them. It's really, basically, I always say it's meant for people that are planners, if you want to plan the rest of your life out. So these residents of ours are planners, and they have decided that they'll get in with us and live in our community and know that they're taking care of the rest of their life, no matter what happens financially to them or any other situation, that they will be taken care of throughout the rest of their life.
I guess I'll follow up with that with the question of, as you're planning this, at what point, generally speaking, or what age do people begin to plan for this type of living? Giving up their home and moving, even if they're still independent, giving up their home and moving to a facility like Friends Fellowship?
Yeah, great question, because believe it or not, we have 65 years old and above. And again, when they sell their home and give up their home, the independent living, they're buying a home and getting on a life lease program, which is what I was talking about with it being being cared for the rest of their life.
Okay.
So really, it's just a matter of when you're retired and ready to make sure that you're taking care of the rest of your life. Again, we have very vibrant life residents that are very active in their community and very active in our community, and just know that they're going to be taken care of the rest of their time.
You've been around this type of work for a while. Is the age at which people make this decision getting a little bit later in life? We keep hearing that people are staying more active, not giving up their jobs, maybe in some cases, as early as possible, as early as some maybe did earlier. We're living longer, our life
Right.
expectations. Are your residents coming in a little bit later than they would have a few years back?
Typically, you would see that in most senior living settings. Our community, with the independent living the way it is, we still are generally between the ages of late 60s to late 70s for the initial buy-in of the independent living. But yeah, people are living a lot longer, and that's another reason to plan what you are going to do for the rest of your life, because we used to just plan to be retired for 10 years, and now we're planning to be retired for maybe 35.
Right.
We do have some residents at our community that have lived with us for over 30 years.
Wow.
So it's really incredible.
Talk about some of the amenities that a facility like Friends Fellowship has, and you mentioned even when we were talking that not everybody is familiar. We passed the name. It's on obviously a very major street, but you're set back off, and a lot of people don't drive up in there. I've lived here for a number of years. I can't say that I've ever driven up in the facility. Talk about what it's like, what some of the amenities are, the look. In just reading from your website, it's talked a little bit about the growth through the years and how it has changed and evolved with its residents.
Right. We are a not-for-profit community based off of the Quaker Foundation, which is a little bit different for us because we're faith-based, and I think that's a good selling point for our community. Mm-hmm. We're based on a lot of dignity and respect is the baseline of what we do. We want to provide great customer service. The expansion that we've had over the years is the additional independent living and the additional to our courtyards, which is our memory care, secured memory care unit. And we are expanding that courtyard to have more memory care because there's a big need in the area for memory care. So we are advertising for that now and looking for residents that might need memory care. But some of the amenities that we have are really a lot of resident-focused groups that they lead the committees and organizations that within the community, to environmental situations, to the executive committee. Very vibrant life with our activities program. We have a wonderful life enrichment team that keeps our residents going. We have a wellness, a person that's basically focused on wellness coaching to help with people that maybe had never worked out in their whole life. He's going to help teach them to be able to stay fit and exercise. So there's a lot of different programs that way in the community. But I think the biggest thing that we have as a differentiator per se would be the fact that we have a wonderful team. We have team members like Kelly Klein that have been there for over 25 years as a nurse. Tammy Dalton is our housekeeping director, over 36 years. And our director of nursing, which a director of nursing in senior living is like a NFL running back. They last about 18 months. And ours,
wow, really?
and ours has been there for 25 years. So Melissa Harrison is a tremendous asset to our community. So those people, and I could name 20 other people, but we have a lot of really good employees that have had longevity there and are invested in our residents and really love them, their family. So.
I'm curious. You talked about a director of nursing generally not lasting a long time.
Yeah.
What is the reason, generally speaking, behind that? Obviously, there's a number of different reasons. People leave, life changes.
Yeah.
But what's the reason that seems to be such a quick turn?
It's a tough. I hate using the word industry, but it's a tough industry, healthcare, and there's a lot of. We've had COVID, and it's been a world pandemic, and that hit us hard in our industry. But in a lot of healthcare environments, there's a lot of burnout. A a lot of people that just don't want to do it anymore, and it's a tough job. And the great thing about Friends Fellowship community is the fact that it's a lot easier because we have great people, we have great residents that really are very involved and very invested, and will give great opinions, and they want to see they want to do the right thing. And so I think Melissa's been able to hang in there for that long because of how nice the community is and how great of a team she has. And she's a very caring individual herself that has developed wonderful relationships with her residents, and I don't think she'd ever want to leave them.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We're talking with Adam Parton, President and CEO of Friends Fellowship. He's only been there since October, so much less than a year.
Yeah.
You kind of led me to what was going to be my next question, because I recently had a conversation, even with a gentleman who is running the local Habitat for Humanity, and he mentioned COVID and how it made it difficult for them to build a house. In the middle of a pandemic, you can't have volunteers building a house when you're having to be 6 feet apart. Talk a little bit about what COVID has done to the industry that you're in and how you're seeing things change on the other side.
Well, it's funny. I said how long I've been in healthcare when we started, and I think right before COVID, I'm the one that jinxed our industry by saying, I think I've been through everything now. And then we had a world pandemic hit, and
haven't been through everything.
Have not been through everything, and I'll never say that again. But it was hard on our industry. It was hard on the world.
Sure.
But it was hard on our seniors to have to be isolated. I think when the government made the decision to not allow visitors into healthcare facilities and to keep everybody distanced that way, it was for the best that we were preventing the spread of COVID, but it was terrible for the socialization and isolating people into that situation. So we did have people decline in health because of that isolation. We learned a lot of new ways through technology, and I don't think anybody really knew what Zoom was before COVID, and we all know what Zoom is now.
Right.
We use that in a lot of ways in our campuses and facilities to be able to interact with our residents and have activities and do those kind of things to try to have some socialization. Mm-hmm. And we learned a lot about how to communicate with families on the outside. So now we can communicate better with a family that might be in California than we did before COVID, because we learned that through COVID on how to keep people informed and to be able to communicate with them well from a distance. So those are some of the silver linings of COVID. We've controlled it really well. Friends did a great job controlling it with infection control and making sure that they did keep everybody safe, and they did a fantastic job with it. Everybody had some setbacks, but overall they did a wonderful job with the way they handled this terrible pandemic.
You've talked about your team and being in healthcare. We know just from the news that a number of people left healthcare, decided to change, had a hard time. Talk about what your staffing is like. Are you in a position where you're looking for staffing? There's a number of hospitals out there, obviously, that have been looking for doctors as well as nurses and volunteers. What is your staffing situation like? How do you train? How much time does it take? Are you in need of staff?
Yeah, that's great. We always are in need of staff. I think everybody would say that any industry, they're all always looking for staff these days. But we do have a lot of longevity, and we do have a really good staff to resident ratio, better than a lot of places I've ever been. So we are always looking. We have a need. As we expand our courtyard memory care, we are looking for some second shift employees for that. It looks like we have first and third kind of taken care of at this point.
Okay.
So we're really focusing on that 3 to 11
It's
shift.
interesting. I would think that
Yeah.
that That third shift would be the one that would be hard to.
You would think. I think that's a hard shift to work, but 3 to 11's where we have a lot of need right now. And we train within our facility. Emily is our educator there, and she does a class where if we find somebody that loves customer service and wants to provide good customer service and loves seniors and wants to be around residents that way, we can train you to be a certified nurse's aide. So she'll take you through the class and get you certified as a certified nurse's aide, and then we can hire you in that position for the needs that we have. So it's a great opportunity for anybody that's looking for a career. We can educate you and get you that certification, and then be able to be a caregiver in our community.
What are some of the big changes that you've seen in the assisted living / independent living industry through the years? You all have had to adjust to how people live their lives, and you've been around it for a while. Talk about what you've seen in terms of change within the industry, even within people coming into that type of life.
Well, I think some of the changes are more involvement. People know what they want when they come to a senior living community, and they're not coming when there's an urgent need for the care. They're making the decision to plan for it, like I mentioned before, okay. And when they come in, they're doing it on their own accord, and they know what they want to do. They want to be very involved. Like I said, we have lots of committees and resident-run activities. They're very involved with the care that they need to have. They are technology inclined. They know technology really well.
Okay.
So we
which probably wasn't the case.
Wasn't
10
the case
years
when
ago.
I started in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and we have, and then when you get to be on the healthcare side of things, we have a much more higher acuity in long-term care, where residents that had that acuity might have been in the hospital before, where we're able to take care of them in our healthcare setting.
We talked about the pandemic, how it affected things. How is it with people now coming onto the campus? Are you inviting people in? Are you looking for needing volunteers even maybe to help get residents to and from? You mentioned how busy they are, bus drivers, anything of that nature. Is that all employed, or are there people who just want to be helpful and volunteer their time?
There's absolutely opportunity for volunteers, and we are welcoming a lot of people back. I think that's something that's new again, is inviting people back in, and we've started some resource groups. We want to help the whole community of Richmond and Wayne County to be a resource when it comes to senior living, not just for our residents and the people that might live there, but for everyone. So we're starting different resource groups. We have an Alzheimer's group that we're starting to be a resource for. If you have some questions about Alzheimer's or some difficulties with that, you could come to our resource group and we might be able to help you. We're looking for a grant with the Parkinson's resource group, because there's a high number of Parkinson's residents in our area that are struggling at home, and we want to be a resource for them while they're still in the community, and potentially if they came to us for needs. But we want to help the community out that way. So we're hosting more things at the building now and having more people into our community. We have beautiful community room and nice conference rooms that are able to welcome people in for meetings. As a matter of fact, I'm hosting the Kiwanis Club at our building on Friday this week. So I'm excited to have them come visit and see our community.
Nice. You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Whether you're watching on WGTV Channel 11, whether you're watching a replay of this on our Facebook page, on our YouTube, maybe it's a Sunday morning, you're listening to the replay on G1013 or their sister station, 1490 AM, 100.9 FM, ESPN Radio, WKBV. Thank you for spending time with us. We're having a conversation with Adam Parton, President and CEO of Friends Fellowship. We kind of connected because I got an email that you all are reaching out. Talk a little bit about what you have found at Friends Fellowship and what made you even begin the conversation of reaching out to Whitewater Community Television as well as some other organizations.
Well, I'm so excited about this community. I think it has a lot of great things to offer. It's everything I have ever wanted in a senior living community all throughout my career. So when I started, I realized that a lot of people in Richmond didn't know us, like you had mentioned earlier. They didn't know where we were at, didn't know who we were, might have seen a sign or seen our emblem somewhere or know our name, but didn't know the things that we provided and the way that we can help out the whole community and be part of that community. We want to give back to the community, and we also want to help people that are in need for senior living and finding a place to live and being able to have a place where they can spend the rest of their lives comfortably and know that they're going to be taken care of no matter what their financial situation is.
Okay. We're down to our last couple of minutes. I'm just going to ask you, what haven't I asked you that you would like the community to know about either yourself, Friends Fellowship, opportunities there? I just want to give you a little bit of time to share with the community what you feel is necessary.
Sure. I think I mentioned the life lease that we have, and another perception that a lot of people that I've talked to about Friends Fellowship, a lot of people had the perception that you needed to be very wealthy to be able to get on the life lease program at Friends Fellowship, and that's not true. It's very one-off, independent. Everybody's situation is different. So we encourage people that are in need, that even if they think they wouldn't be able to get through the application process, to still apply. And there might be a way that we'd be able to help you and be able to provide that care and that peace of mind that you would have knowing that you're taking care of the rest of your life. So I think that's a really important thing, that the community's aware that we aren't, you don't have to be very, very wealthy to be able to live on our campus.
It's not an exclusive country club.
Right, okay. Exactly.
I appreciate you coming in and talking with us. Adam Parton, President and CEO of Friends Fellowship on Chester Boulevard. How can people connect with you, your staff? We haven't talked about that at all. We talked about people being more connected on the internet and social, but we haven't talked about where they can find you on social media, email, whatever.
Right. We have you can follow us on Facebook, Friends Fellowship Community. We have our main number that you can call, our website. You can look us on the website. My name is Adam Parton. My email address is aparton@ffcinc.org. But I would love to send a dove. However you can get a hold of us, find a way to connect with us, and if you need help, and we can make sure that we can help you out.
Throw something at the end of the rainbow, whatever the case may be. Adam, great to meet you. Welcome to the community. Looking forward to connecting with you and Friends Fellowship a little bit more.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
No problem. We'll be back with more In Focus after this.
WCTV supports local entertainment. WCTV supports local information. WCTV supports our local students. WCTV needs your support to continue supporting our community, and it's easy to do. Become a member as an individual or family. Nonprofit and business memberships are also available, with benefits including video production and program sponsorship. Membership donations are critical, and when deciding where your support dollars go, support an organization that serves the community you live in. Visit WCTV.info or call 765-973-8488.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harlan, program host for Let's Talk Together. Join us on our next episode, where we will talk with Dr. Brian Fong, Reed Heart and Vascular Surgery for American Heart Month.
I've been seeing often in this community is peripheral arterial disease. Basically, that's occlusions of the arteries that lead from the heart that go to whether it's the organs or the arms and legs.
Join us Thursday, 8 o'clock, Channel 20, WETV.
Gianna Fertility Center of Richmond helps nurture and prepare women. Using the Creighton method of fertility care and NAPRO technology, we can provide vital information for reproductive health as well as help avoid or achieve pregnancy. We offer one-on-one consultations as well as appointments through Reed Health, allowing access to top-of-the-line care. To learn more about Gianna Fertility Center, give us a call or visit our website.
This month, join Whitewater Community Television for Richmond Rising as we get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at Ron Oler's installation as mayor of Richmond, Indiana.
So I'll have welcome remarks, lead the pledge, Seth will sing, you'll have the prayer. You're going to sit up front with me. Hello. Thanks for coming.
Congratulations, and your mother would be very, very proud of you.
That's Richmond Rising, Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. on WGTV, Channel 11.
And welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Thank you very much for staying with us. No, you're not actually wrong. I'm not wearing what I was wearing when we went into commercial break. But the segments of this show sometimes are recorded on different days, and my stylist doesn't always remember what I was wearing. So the clothes change from one half of a show to another. It's an interesting thing. There's something about radio where nobody sees what you're wearing. It's a wonderful thing. I'm joined on this half of the show by Jeff Plasterer, Wayne County Commissioner, Beth Fields, Wayne County Community Coordinator, working with the HELP program. It's hard to believe, we were talking before we went on, that it's been almost a year or so since we had you on this show. A lot has happened. Let's backtrack though real quickly. Talk about HELP for those people who may not have even been in the community at the time that HELP was launched last year. Real quickly, talk about HELP. Tell us what it is and where we are to this point.
Well, thanks for having us, Eric. We're at a kind of a critical juncture here with HELP, and HELP stands for the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Project. It actually goes back 2.5 years, if you can believe it, when I got together with Beth Fields at the city of Richmond, as opposed to Beth Fields at the county. So City Beth and County Beth. And we agreed, working with the mayor and the commissioners, that we wanted to apply for this opportunity through the Office of Community and Rural Affairs, called HELP, the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Project. There was $1 million available in grant funding, community development block grant funding, but the most important part of this was it would be an opportunity for us to work with Okra and with Purdue University and Ball State and IU and Ivy Tech to help the communities that participated with us to develop a plan that would be an effective way to spend some of our American Rescue Plan Act dollars. So the county had almost $13 million. The city had about $7.5 million. Each of the towns, it was kind of based on population, and so they had significantly less than that. But we had an opportunity to work together. We invited all of the communities in Wayne County to participate. 7 did, and we were happy to work with them over the last 2 years plus to develop a strategic investment plan. And we are pretty much right now on the verge of launching that strategic investment plan, and in the near future we'll start to spend dollars and start implementing these projects.
The conversation moved from community to community, talking about what their individual needs, wants, desires were. Each community was able to develop a plan of action, amenities that they wanted to create, whatever, that was specific to them. This was not a, we're all going to do the same type of thing situation, correct?
Correct. And Beth worked with us to coordinate a meeting date in every one of the communities that participated. You know, we worked with their town councils. Beth, do you want to pick it up from there on the meetings where we got community input in each of the towns?
We did. We visited each community during one of their town council meetings or city council meetings. The community was invited. There was a good deal of notice. I think Cambridge City and Economy probably had the best turnout, and the community members' voice were counted as much as those town council members. There was a 3-question survey.
Mm-hmm.
The survey was discussed. Everybody figured out what they thought was most important for their community. Then they met in boards or in groups, and then that group of 5 or 10, depending on how many people were there, they came up with their best answer. After we left the meeting, we took every single answer that was written down, and it was logged, and it was considered, and it was evaluated. Communities, interestingly, they knew what they wanted. They were mostly all pulling in the same direction. It was interesting to see.
Really?
Would you think so,
Absolutely.
Jeff? Yeah.
And
Every once
there
in a while
was-
you'd get something that was a little a different thought, but they really knew what their community needed.
And there was significant agreement between communities, which was I expected, having been involved in a lot of different planning projects over the years, but they were pretty much in lockstep. You know, they wanted parks. They wanted to make sure that their city utilities were functioning appropriately.
They wanted good sidewalks.
They wanted sidewalks.
Good lighting, a place for people to gather.
Development of downtowns was a common theme. Housing was a common theme. So we took that information, that direct input from close to 1,000 people across Wayne County, gave us their input through this survey or the public meetings. We had about 150 in a joint meeting at the fairgrounds between the city of Richmond and just county residents in general.
Right.
And from that information, that list of ideas, I think we need to do this, I think we need that. We put together the most responses, the ideas that had the most support, and then we put together committees of people from the communities and from positions that involve the entire county. So the director of economic development, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, those kinds of folks whose job it is to look at the well-being of the entire county were involved in those discussions. And from those input lists, they worked with the universities in a system to establish what are the highest priorities here. So we got to the highest priorities, and then from there we moved to the most critical steps, and then what are actual projects where you can identify what you're going to do, how much it's going to cost, and what the benefit of that project would be to the county or to the individual community. And from those projects, we built what we now call our SIP, or Strategic Investment Plan. So there are a list of 33 projects in that Strategic Investment Plan, and it is separated into individual plans for each of the City of Richmond, and then the participants are Spring Grove, Economy, Dublin, Cambridge City, East Germantown, and Milton. So each of those communities has their own plan, and then the all-encompassing plan takes into account all of those things, plus a few things that the county wanted to do across the entire county, not just within those communities, but across the entire county.
You've gone each one of the community's councils had to vote and agree on this.
Correct.
But we had a chance to see most of those meetings. Most people seemed to be relatively happy. There was applause at the end of almost every one when there was agreement. So where are we now? You have the SIP, you have the Strategic Investment Plan.
Correct.
How does this move forward, and are there deadlines? Is this something that 7-8 years down the road, we're still trying to get this completed?
Hope not.
Go ahead, Beth. You're our deadline expert.
So the federal government has a deadline on all of the ARPA SLRF funds. It must be obligated by December 31st, 2024. And by obligated, that means there has to be a contract, something written, a memorandum of understanding between communities. That is an obligation. Budgeted does not count. Appropriated doesn't count. We have to report that to the federal government, and it's a strict reporting process. From that point, we have until December 31st, 2026 to finish construction projects. However, projects that don't involve construction, we have until December 31st, 2025, with a little bit of 3-week fall over to the next year to get invoices completed. But all the spending has to be done by those deadlines. Those deadlines don't move. They are not negotiable.
And each of the communities have their own funding. So each of them has that responsibility to make sure we're in lockstep, we're following the commitment schedule, we're taking the appropriate steps, we have the contracts. And remember that the ARPA dollars that are committed to the HELP program are only between 1/3 and 2/3 of the money that is actually available through ARPA. So in addition to making sure we're following guidelines for the HELP dollars, we also, each of those 8 governmental entities has their own deadlines that they need to keep an eye out on. So we can't lose sight of the bigger picture because of the HELP program, even though it's a monster. As I said, 33 projects, 8 communities, and spanning the entire county. So it's a challenge. It's a big job, but we're on top of it, and we are at the. We've gone through the approval process. We have the plan, and now we're at the implementation stage.
Implementation means money. I was on social media the other day and noticed one community has kind of a crowdfunding thing going on for a playground.
A playground
that they're trying to
absolutely.
build. Will all of them be doing that? Do they have different ways of raising money? And how much does each community need to raise as part of this?
So it's not trying to build, they will build.
They will build. They have to get it done.
They will get it done.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So there are 5 playgrounds. So 5 of the 33 projects are playgrounds. One in each of 5 small towns. It is a program called Creating Places that is sponsored by the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, and it is a matching grant program. So at every opportunity, we are trying to use the ARPA dollars that are invested in the HELP project to extend our reach and to match additional grants. So we're working through this particular process on these playgrounds, and those will be in Economy, East Germantown, Milton, Cambridge City, and Dublin. Dublin already has a well-developed playground, as does Cambridge, but this is going to improve those. Some of the others don't have one at all. They'll be adding one, or they're going to start over. Economy has a playground that has equipment that is left over from when
my
the
childhood.
School closed. The school
old.
and Economy closed.
Okay.
Consolidation in the
Sure.
60s. So I don't know the exact date, but it looks like that was the original playground equipment. They're going to be able to replace a lot of that. So there are, the idea on the crowdfunding is if each of these communities can raise $50,000 through a crowdfunding project, then IHCDA will match that dollar for dollar up to another $50,000. So $100,000 plus for each of those communities as a playground investment, which I think is huge. You know, a town like Economy with 150 or 200 people, to be able to have that kind of amenity for folks is just a great thing. So we're real excited about that, and that actually kicked off the end of last week.
It did.
And so they are well on their way to sometime later this summer having a new playground in Economy, and in East Germantown, who is first, and then the other 4 will be launching at various times throughout the spring and early summer. Richmond is doing a similar project, but it's not a playground. It is for amenities in the city-owned part of the Rose Garden. So, you know, there's a 501c3 group that owns a big chunk of the Rose Garden and takes care of the roses and all of that. But there's also part of Glenn Miller Park that owns. There's a fountain and a house and different things out
Charles
there.
House
and they'll be making improvements. A lot of this, as I understand it, will go into the fountain, renovations to the fountain. So those things are moving forward as we speak. There are sidewalk projects, there are water projects, the CDBG funding, the Community Development Block Grant that we touched on. There's $1 million that is being provided by Okra that is not part of the HELP dollars. It's in addition to the ARPA dollars. And that is actually going $450,000 to Cambridge City, and they are going to develop a performance venue in their park. And then $550,000 is going to the town of Dublin. They'll be making improvements to their municipal water system with that money. The county has contributed an additional $100,000 that will pay for the grant administration for that project. Anytime you use federal money under the Community Development Block Grant Program, you are required to hire a certified grant administrator. Usually that comes out of the grant itself, but in this case, the county chose to pay for that grant administration fee so that the whole $1 million can go towards these projects. So at every opportunity where the county had the ability to augment or assist in these projects, we have done that. And I'm very proud of county government, the folks in county government who have worked so hard on this project, and the towns that agreed to participate. Now, I'm hoping that there's still things we can do with some of the other communities that were not able to participate in HELP for one reason or another. And trust me, this was a leap of faith for the towns that got on board. And the rules of how you can expend ARPA dollars have changed dramatically since we started down this road. That's one of Beth's functions as the community coordinator, to keep her eye on the bouncing ball as it keeps changing and morphing.
And I know that when we talked a year ago, it was changing even around that time a great deal.
Absolutely. And so one of those changes was that as Congress saw this program evolving, they decided that they would allow local governments to declare up to $10 million of their ARPA funds as what they choose to call lost revenue. And that meant that for everybody except the county, they could declare all of their ARPA money as lost revenue, and that took a lot of the strings off of the money, and the money could then be used for essentially anything that a local government could do that was legal. So any kind of programming or projects that they could do with their other funding streams, they can do now with the ARPA dollars. The county claimed $10 million as lost revenue, and that left about $2.78 million that has to follow the original Treasury rules, which has limitations and strings attached to it and more reporting, and it's a lot more complicated. So all of the money that is involved in the HELP program is lost revenue dollars. So the strings came off, and it opened a lot of opportunities that did not exist under the original rules.
And lost revenue goes back to the time of the pandemic,
Correct.
COVID, and maybe tax dollars that didn't come in because businesses were shut down or something along those lines.
Correct. And some communities did lose revenue, others didn't. But the effect of that was that the rules on how the dollars could be spent changed significantly, and that has allowed us to focus on the projects that you see in the strategic investment plan.
Yeah, initially lost revenue had to be proven by a math factor. And then the Fed said up to 10 million, go for it. And we did.
Well, wasn't that
and
nice
it was the right
them?
decision to make.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're spending time with Jeff Plasterer and Beth Fields talking about the Hoosier Enduring Legacy program that has helped bring additional dollars to various communities for projects that the communities have really had a chance to flesh out, and I think that's an important part of this, that each community was able to gather, their citizens were able to talk, they were able to decide. Maybe not 100% everybody's behind it, but for the most part there was input from a lot of community members to make this happen. This wasn't a top-down, we think you need to do this type of situation.
Absolutely not. It was their money. They're in charge of it. They get to decide how it's spent.
As you go forward, now you're both looking at this and you're seeing all of these potential changes. We had a chance a week or so ago to talk to Dakota Collins from Earlham College. They have received additional dollars that are coming in. So people are hearing millions upon millions, literally, of dollars that will be affecting the landscape of Wayne County as a whole, some areas more than others. Is anything through the HELP dollars working with those dollars that are coming through Earlham's grant, and particularly in the downtown Richmond area, because that's where a lot of their money is being spent? Richmond is spending money there.
Correct.
Do any of those help each other to fulfill Richmond's plan?
Yes, and I wouldn't say that they are, it's kind of collaborative. It's additional types of programming and additional money for different types of programming that are focused in the same area. So, for example, in the SIP, in the Strategic Investment Plan, the county and the city have each committed $1 million to downtown redevelopment. And that is pretty substantially different from the approach that Earlham will be taking with the Lilly money. This will be open to owners of existing buildings, businesses in a particular geographic area, and each community will identify. In fact, I just scheduled 2 meetings with 2 of the small towns today to go and talk to them to allow their town councils to identify, how do you identify downtown? You know, what is the downtown redevelopment area in Milton or in East Germantown? And so some of them may have 2 or 3 buildings. Some of them may have 30 buildings. Richmond obviously has, dozens,
Blocks.
if not more. And so Richmond will identify their geography of where they're going to commit their $1 million. The county's money will be committed to any of the help communities, and then within the footprint that the town councils identify as their downtown. And so hopefully we'll be able to launch that program by the end of February. All of the details are not finalized yet. We have a draft of what we want to do, but the intention is to put some money in the hands of building and business owners in the downtowns so that they can do, whether it's a facade renovation or adding second-story apartments, or maybe what the building really needs is a new roof. And if it has a new roof, they'll be able to develop the rest of the building. So we've got some guidelines. There will be a committee that will score applications and try to identify that $1 million is a lot of money, but when you're talking about building renovation,
particularly on some of the older buildings that
Absolutely.
you're talking about in these downtown areas.
Absolutely. So the committees will look at trying to get the most bang for the buck. What are we actually getting for the draft calls for a maximum of $100,000 as a grant, and that would be on a 75-25 basis. So the building owner would need to put up 25% of the cost of the renovations, and they could get up to 75% of the cost, up to $100,000 from this fund. So we're still working on the details. We hope to be able to announce the final details in February. We're kind of envisioning about a 4-month application process, because those folks will have to do some planning, get bids, make sure that they have the necessary building permits and approvals from whoever those approvals need to come from. And so we want to give them some lead time to pull those things together. And then as a construction project, it will need to be done. I think we have set 18 months from the time of the award to completion of the project, at least in the draft. So again, we're working through those, but hopefully we'll be able to come back and share all of the details when we're ready to launch that program. There also is a program from the county for housing development and housing infrastructure in the unincorporated areas of Wayne County. I think the intention is to try to spur investment in housing that could be connected to existing municipal systems, so sewer, water, electric, those kind of things, so that we're not necessarily increasing the infrastructure that's necessary way out in the county, but focus it where there's already the ability to tap into those existing kind of systems. So again, that program we don't have the draft done yet, but at some point in the next few months, we'll be ready to announce those guidelines and put out kind of a request for proposals from developers and builders on what kind of support they would need to do those projects. So a lot of work here. One other thing I really want to touch on is blight remediation. So the county, the EDC, and the city of Richmond have each committed dollar amounts to blight elimination, and the county and the EDC are working together. There will be similar but slightly different rules on how that works, but we want to work with the towns and with the county in unincorporated areas. If there are houses, structures that need to be raised, they're dangerous, they're collapsing, they're unsafe buildings. As long as those communities go through the unsafe building process, which is in state legislation, there's a process you have to go through to do that. The county has between the county and the EDC Consolidated Edit Fund, I think we have $700,000 or $800,000 committed to that. The money from Consolidated Edit will be open to communities that are contributors to the Consolidated Edit Fund. So some of the communities that were not able to participate in HELP would be eligible for some of those funds. The county is focusing again on the HELP communities, but if there's money still available when we've dealt with those, we'll extend that out beyond those HELP communities, I think. So we're working on the draft. We need to get final approval on those things, but we'll be announcing those things soon. So we want to have all the information out this spring so that people can decide whether they have projects that fit those guidelines and want to apply for some funding. And I say people, but in some cases it will be private citizens who own buildings. In other cases it will be communities that have a need to remove unsafe buildings, and they'll have to obviously go through the governmental process to do that in the appropriate way. But we're trying to accomplish a lot in a relatively short period of time, at least by governmental standards.
It sounds like it. I do have to cut you off. The voice in my head says our time is elapsed. Jeff Plasterer, Wayne County Commissioner and President, and Beth Fields, Wayne County Community Coordinator. You all have a lot on your plate. We will definitely have you back to update as things continue to move forward. It won't be another year before we're able to do that, because things will be moving obviously very quickly from this point as the implementation plans really begin to come about. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you coming back and doing an update on this.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for watching this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Whether you have just listened to the audio of this or whether you have watched this on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or on WGTV, we appreciate your time. Thanks for watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I hope you have a great weekend, and as always, I wish you well.